home stretch. It was like 2 more weeks.
Or less, potentially.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah, that's good. I like hearing that.
Yeah.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm well.
So when you get home, do you have a wireless connection?
Well, we've got an agency around
No, I'm saying on this iPad, when you get home, you look up here, see if you have this little signal. You don't have it here. Oh, okay.
And it happened.
Yeah, because we're connected. But when you get home, if you're not connected, then this is what you told me. That's not well, yeah, because you're leaving our wireless and you're connecting. Is after that update. Yeah. So what you need to do is probably go to settings and wireless, and at home you'll see your wireless listed. If you select it, it may ask you to put in your wireless key.
I mean, this needs to be fixed because I mean,
Morning. We're gonna have to probably.
I just assume keep it when we do it, right?
Well, the only way we can fix this, you have to be at your home on your wireless, because your wireless is. When you get home, you can give us a call. We can walk you through this and see what your wireless shows up as, and then you need to know how to keep it. The update probably wiped out the network settings. It did sending of mine to my home network.
With it, the same thing.
Had to reconnect it. Once I did that. See, call this is the main number that you can ask for me. That way, anybody picks up. What time you think we- Yes, right. We don't. You didn't believe it or not. They keep coming in. Sharon said that we can set up a rule for you. Is it any of them that you, well, anything like 10 charges? That's true.
Workers' Compensation Commission. He doesn't trust you. Okay. Well, I would need it, but.
But yeah.
This, you know why you think this guy is great.
A little weak. We could probably do it with Dr. Yeah, I think that's fine. Open the door.
That crud. You are. Good morning, how are you?
This is the first day I've had it out.
Oh, gosh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know. I can't believe it.
Bonnie, how are you?
No, he is not in the box. Okay, then never mind. I'll send him an email. I just need to bring something. He is not in the box. See, we got some competitors.
I'm here.
Committee will come forward. I'm going to try to expedite some folks out of here because we obviously have, we're all just trying different directions. Senator Dees, let's take a group. And let's give our attention to Senator Dees.
Senate Bill 1063 has introduced this legislation, which came out of a work group that Rob Bell and John Cosgrove and Vivian Watts were on the Mental Health Commission. It's basically to address the Jermichael Mitchell situation. As introduced, it gave the Board of Corrections authority to review those matters and had funding for them to hire investigators. That got changed, and the Rob Bell bill went from this committee to the courts and appropriations, and it died because of the fiscal impact. In the Senate, this bill was amended dramatically to take the significant part out of it, basically just to redefine membership on the Board of Corrections, and it still has a $100,000 fiscal impact.
Okay, so just to, so committee, I don't think there's a problem with this bill, but we have a procedure that if it's gone through appropriations, we'll run it through there, it's gonna come to my subcommittee. I don't think there's an impact, but just to be safe, I'm gonna, if you're inclined, if everyone's inclined to report or refer, then if you have any other questions.
So moved.
There's a motion for refer to appropriation.
So moved.
All right, second, is there a second? All right, committee will vote. Okay, Senator Deeds, I think.
Thank you very much.
Safely slip into the quiet of the morning. Okay, all right, we don't have other patrons here, but I think that, let's just kind of go through some of these. I believe we can, well, the bill report's 15. Okay, all right, let's go to Senator Vogel's 1299. And Delegate Gilbert, I'm going to yield to you on 1299. I believe that you have a similar bill to this, and I think it'd probably be appropriate within council to conform Senate Bill 1299 to House Bill 1852, which is, I think, Delegate Gilbert's and Delegate Gilbert's. So moved. Is there a second? All in favor say aye. All right, so we have now conformed Senate Bill 1299 to Delegate Gilbert's bill. Delegate Gilbert.
Mr. Chairman, this is just legal temporary concealed carry for domestic violence victims, people who have secured a protective order. It's already voted on that in the House.
Okay, committee, we had a fairly extensive discussion on Delegate Gilbert's bill. Is there anything else that we want to speak to on that? You simply conform them, it'll go out, and so there you go.
Mr. Chairman,
Delegates,
I just want to renew my objection to this on particularly the issue of, this will be the only place where we mandate judges give a particular type of counseling to victims and suggest that they go out and get a concealed carry permit. I think that creates a dangerous situation, particularly we already have this very volatile situation. I said that on the last, but I just want to get it on the record again.
okay, you're on the record. Any other comments? All right. We've heard this in committee a lot, but.
I just wanted to, for the record, state for the governor.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Victoria Cochran, Deputy Secretary for Public Safety and Homeland Security, and on behalf of the administration, we strongly oppose this bill.
Okay, I'm sure there will be lots of opportunities to discuss this further.
Yes, sir.
Okay, is there a motion on the bill? Moved. Is there a second? All in favor, we'll vote. Okay, has everyone voted? We'll close the roll. Bill reports 10 to 5. Let's go to House Bill 1300, which again is similar to Delegate Gilbert's House Bill 1853.
Mr. Chairman, I will move to conform this to the companion House bill.
All right, there's a motion to conform this bill to House Bill 1853. All in favor say aye. Aye. Delegate Gilbert.
Mr. Chairman, this is the companion training component, creating a new training fund to allow victims of stalking, domestic violence, sexual assault to pursue some firearms training. And it has been funded as well in the budget. So thank you. I would move to report.
Okay, this bill has in fact been funded, but
Report and refer.
yes, report and refer, and we would just treat it the same way we do everything else. If it goes up on both sides. So is there a second? Okay. Again, this bill thoroughly discussed. Any further comments from the committee? Any comments from the public?
Again, as with the previous bill, Victoria Cochran, Deputy Secretary for Public Safety and Homeland Security, and on behalf of the administration, we do oppose the bill.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. All right, hearing no other discussion, there's a motion to report and refer. The committee will vote. Have all members voted? Senator Lucas was in the room. And I don't want to take her bill up straight away. Let's give our attention to Senator Lucas, and her bill is,
Senate Bill 1047.
okay, Senator Lucas, this is Senate Bill 1047.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Senate Bill 1047 requires the Department of Criminal Justice Services to update the enforcement training standards to include fair and impartial policing, implicit bias, and verbal de-escalation courses, which will be required in basic training for all law enforcement officers throughout Virginia. The bill also directs DCJS to provide technical assistance to law enforcement agencies in implementing modern community policing philosophies. And for the details, I'd like for the Director Frame to come up and respond to the questions that you may have.
Okay, Senator Lucas, I believe this is very similar to Delegate Herring's bill that we reported and referred. Do you have any more you want to add to it that wasn't already stated? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, members of the committee. Fran Ecker, Director of the Department of Criminal Justice Services. Although, Mr. Chairman, we thought the governor's including funding for this in his budget was a great idea, and that, of course, his budget was perfect as it was. That's not.
I would be careful.
Yes, sir. There was unfortunately not concurrence on that. So but we do believe that this issue is very important, and the agency would like to see the legislation move forward, and we will work within current resources.
Okay. In fairness to Senator Lucas, I would ask for a motion on her bill. There's a motion to report and refer the bill to appropriations. Any discussion? Yes, Delegate Gilbert, discussion on the motion.
So one of my concerns about continuing to pile things into what you should do and what you need to do is that you can't, it seems like you can't do things on your own just because it makes sense. If you think it's important, why can't you do some of these things already?
Thank you, Delegate Gilbert. We can do this already, and we do. If you look at this language, and I don't want to take your time and go into the weeds, Mr. Chairman, but this is language that was put in about 1990. It includes DCJS having a lending library, which we don't have and have not had for some years. So this modernizes it. It uses language that's contemporary. And I think underscores the importance both for law enforcement and for community members that community engaged policing is a more modern way of
Let me just make a comment. We had a very robust discussion about this very topic in the House Appropriations Subcommittee that I chair. There is no argument that we need to update our standards, which are over 10 years old. The question is, how are we approaching that work? But let me ask you a question. You've raised a good point. Does DCJS have the capacity to do these updates now? Do you have the staffing and the expertise to do all these updates?
We do not have the staffing and not necessarily the expertise for all of this.
Hang on for a second. You don't have expertise to update the standards?
Not
in DCJS?
Yes, sir. We do not for all of the standards that were required. We do, as a matter of course, hire consultants periodically to update certain standards. Some of them
But let me be clear, because I want to make sure, because I'm going to dig into this deeper. But are you telling me that there is not staff capability to update these standards existing within DCJS as we speak?
Not and get everything else done that we are asked to do.
So
I'd have to pull somebody.
But you do have the expertise to do it.
Yeah, we have the professional expertise to do it, but I'd have to pull somebody from some of the other things that they're doing to be dedicated to this. I can't do that.
It would be a reprioritization drill if you had to do it.
To say the least, sir. Yes.
Very enlightening. Okay, there's a motion to report and refer the bill to appropriations. Any further discussion? Okay, the committee will vote. Okay, and the bill, clerk will close the roll, and bill report 17. Thank you so much. And we refer to appropriations. So we'll be talking. Okay. All right. Senator Carrico. Okay, it's 1465, let's give your attention to Senator Carrico.
Mr. Chairman, this is dealing with conservation police. Last year, we had a rewrite of the concealed weapons section because retired law enforcement are under federal law able to carry concealed anywhere with, as long as they go through the training each year under the respective departments that they had worked with and then signed off, and those departments carry the liability once those individuals are trained. And every year these law enforcement officers have to go through a qualification and training. And so when we did this bill last year, inadvertently conservative, or ever how you used to be getting.
Senator Carrico, I think your bill is identical to Delegate Wright's.
Delegate Wright.
I think we acted favorably on it.
Okay.
Is there any comments from the public on this bill? Comments from the committee? There's a motion to report duly seconded. Any further comments? Hearing none, the committee will vote. Clerk will close the roll. Oh, no, he won't. He will let me vote. Thank you. The clerk will close the roll. The bill reports 15-3. Senator Duke.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, 1313, lucky number.
Okay, give your attention, Senator McDougal.
Mr. Chairman, this is keen out of a policy decision we've been making in the budget for the last number of years, and we sat down with, going through some things over the summer and decided that maybe the code should be reflective of what we're actually doing. Currently, when we're reimbursing localities for capital cost on for the reimbursement of regional jails, we are only reimbursing them at a 25% rate. We've been doing that for a number of years now. Some localities, though, will look at the code and see that it says 50%, will make their plans on 50%, but that has not been the policy at Commonwealth for, I believe this will be our 5th year that we've had that policy. So we were trying to be more transparent with localities as they were making decisions.
Truth in advertising.
Yes, sir.
It's a good truth in advertising bill. Okay, any questions, Senator McDougal? Any comments from the public? Any comments from the committee? Motion on the bill. Motion to report, is there a second? Second. Duly seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, the committee will vote. As soon as the clerk dashes over here to hit the magic buttons to let us do that. Senator McDougal, I will be seeing you and your committee here.
Thank you. I think we'll be there for a little while.
I voted 3 times and it didn't go through.
Okay, then.
Patrick did it.
We will record Delegate Corey's yea vote 3 times.
What do you want?
The bill reports 56,000 to nothing.
That's what they say about early and often. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Senator Overton, Chairman Overton. Yes, sir.
This morning,
Good morning to you, sir.
I have Senate Bill 904 first. This bill
Senator, this one, I have been told we actually dealt with this one in some one. We're going to deal with it next week. In the same committee. That was my mistake. But let's go to your other bill.
all right.
1533, folks. Give your attention to Senator
1533
Overton.
deals with what's a firearm for purposes of the rights of convicted felons, and it doesn't expand the law that we have in Virginia. Really, it conforms to Virginia law right now. Under federal law, if you're convicted of a felony, you're prohibited from possessing a firearm under the Federal Firearms Act, a federal felony. The Federal Firearms Act defines firearms, and it exempts antique weapons from antique firearms from the definition of a firearm. means is black powder rifles. So somebody can go hunting during black powder season. Last I checked, people weren't jacking convenience stores very often with black powder muzzle loading rifles. But Virginia, if you're convicted of a federal felony, and in Virginia, you are prohibited from possessing a firearm. You can't get your rights restored and your firearm rights back because it's a federal offense. And what this simply does is conforms Virginia's definition of antique firearms to the federal definition and says, contrary to the federal law, federal says violent and nonviolent felons can possess.
But yours would only be for.
Only the nonviolent felons. And right now, they can go hunting. I'd much rather them go hunting than manufacture meth. So.
You're not joking.
It is a wonderful Virginia traditional pastime. That is hunting.
The committee will,
Certain parts of Virginia.
I think I've lost control. The committee will come to order and I will regain control. Okay. So we have the bill explained to us. Delegate Edmonds.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator, I remember we passed Senator Ruff's bill in agriculture. How does, in which conform federal to state, how does this differ from that?
This basically, Senator Ruff's bill doesn't deal with the right to possess. It does define antique firearms, and believe it or not, we had no idea each other were carrying these bills. They don't affect one another, to the best of my knowledge. They apply to different things, but they are not inconsistent with one another.
Thank you.
Okay. Delegate Son.
I'm curious, is there, what the source of this bill was? Is there a constituent that had a problem with this, or what's the origin? Where did you come up with the idea?
There are, across Virginia, there are situations where people have been convicted of federal crimes, and particularly in rural Virginia, those folks, if it's been a Virginia crime, they've been out, have done their time, have satisfied all the conditions, and had their rights restored. They could go to a circuit court judge and get their gun rights back. And there are people across Virginia who are lifetime hunters, who would at least like to be able to go hunting during muzzleloading season. This doesn't restore their rights to, possess handguns or possess other rifles or even shotguns. It's just that black powder muzzleloading rifles that the federal government classifies as antique firearms.
Delegate Gilbert.
Mr. Chairman, and Senator, am I correct that it's my understanding this used to be the law, or at least was the understood application of the law, and I know that just from talking to former criminal defendants who they're used to, when their probation officer would meet with them, and 20 years ago they would tell them you can black powder hunt, but you can't hunt with a regular firearm. And then I think somewhere along the way, maybe the General Assembly changed the definition of firearm, or defined it to say if a projectile by means of an explosion, and then we ended up capturing black powder, and so then all of a sudden these guys couldn't even go out with a single shot rifle and shoot kind of deer.
Yeah, that is consistent with my understanding.
Okay.
Also, counsel, is it not true that you can hunt with a crossbow, having been?
Sure, that is true.
Many of you have hunted with a crossbow.
Furthermore, Mr. Chairman,
Pretty deadly.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
further, they have air rifles now that are almost equivalent to, like a 22 or something like that. So, for small game, you can't hunt big game with it.
Because you irritate the big game.
Right. This would also dissuade people from choosing alternate methods that might be less humane and something that will actually do the trick.
I can understand
I'm so glad that has not come to our committee this year. Delegate Hope?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Question for the paper, just to clarify what you had said. When I think of these antique firearms, I think of these long muzzle shotguns of war era. And then you talk about the gunpowder and you're stuffing it down in there and loading up a little bullet in there. But then it also, the code also says antique firearms or the black powder and quantity. Are we talking anything about handguns at all? Because if you go to the code section that refers to and defines antique firearm, it seems like to me it could include any firearm manufactured
Counsel,
before
would you
1898,
educate us on this?
or any replica of any firearm. And I'm just trying to understand, when you define firearm, you said one thing, but it made me think firearm, maybe it's more broader defined, and could include something from the Alamo.
Mr. Chairman, Delegate Hope is reading the correct definition of antique firearm that we're referencing, which includes the muzzle loading firearm, replicas of firearms that were manufactured before 1898, and firearms that were manufactured before 1898.
So my question was, is talking about handguns at all?
Well, it may apply to dueling pistols.
Any replica, so it's not something that was manufactured in the 1800s.
Well, it could apply to antique dueling pistols, I suppose, which, the Federal Gun Control Act says is exempt. And, as a practical matter, I mean, here's what the law is after. I mean, it's trying to prevent the possession of weapons that can be used in the commission of crimes. And, if somebody really wants to go commit crimes, rob convenience stores, or go into clubs armed, he's just going to buy an illegal gun. I really don't think that there's going to be a proliferation of convicted felons walking around with dueling pistols loaded with black powder to commit acts of violence. I mean, there are a lot easier ways.
Mr. Chairman, which would be illegal under your bill, right, for them to walk around with it?
Sure.
For, like you're just limiting this to hunting and sporting, recreational, cultural.
Let's take a look at something here. Council and I just had a little sidebar here, so let's conceptually talk about something. Council, committee will get your attention.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. If what we're concerned about is the other definitions of antique firearm, we could limit the definition to a firearm that's in subdivision 3 of the definition of antique firearm, which would be any muzzle loading rifle, muzzle loading shotgun, muzzle loading pistol that's designed to use black powder or black powder substitute, and that cannot use fixed ammunition. For the purposes of this subdivision, the term antique firearm shall not include any weapon that incorporates a firearm frame or receiver, any firearm that is converted into a muzzle loading firearm, or any muzzle loading weapon that can be readily converted to fire fixed ammunition by replacing the barrel bolt.
I think we might have stumbled onto something. Are you conceptually okay with that? You want to propose that amendment? Is there a second on that amendment? All right, do a second. All in favor, number say aye. Aye. The bill is amended. Senator Overcheck.
That's it.
That's it. Any other comments?
One quick question.
Delegates, let me go to Delegate Bell.
Mr. Chairman, quick question for Senator. I had one of my constituents have this similar situation to this happen. He inherited an antique firearm with black powder. I would assume the provisions of recreation, cultural, that are in the item concerning black powder would cover that. I wanted to ask you, or attorney, would it cover that situation? Because if someone would inherit this weapon or antique firearm with the 5 pounds of black powder, they may not ever intend to use it, but they want to continue to keep maybe a family heirloom.
I think it's possessed, isn't it?
Well, Mr. Chairman, the possessed part is the firearm. The black powder that may come with it's in the other item, and it had those clauses with it.
Mr. Chairman, I would say that whoever's possessing it would need to possess for the purpose of sporting, recreation, or cultural purposes. if it's an heirloom, they want to make the argument that preserving an heirloom is a cultural purpose, there would be that argument, but I would say that they would need to have a lawful purpose as stated in this section to possess it.
So is there an amendment necessary for that in your opinion, Council?
I don't believe that there's an amendment necessary, but if it's the will of the committee, I'm happy to come up with alternatives.
It seems like, I think it's okay. It seems okay.
Mr. Chairman, if we're okay, I just would hate to have someone have to
Okay,
give up family.
that might be your bill next year. Delegate Lopez.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Could I just, you say this is just about sporting and hunting, but it says recreational and cultural purposes of reenactments, is that what you're talking about? American Revolution reenactments or Civil War reenactors?
We have Civil War reenactors out in the Shenandoah Valley, and I
They
think
tend not to shoot at each other, though. I mean, they don't.
they do actually shoot at each other, but not with ammunition.
Because they want to go back and do it again.
So that's what you intend by cultural?
I suppose that would be what was covered. I'm talking about
Your
what my
bill.
purpose is. And, but yeah, it is my bill, and I suppose that would be covered. It was not my goal. However, I think that that's a worthy objective. I mean, if somebody who's been a convicted felon wants to participate in Civil War reenactments or American Revolutionary reenactments, that's a pretty worthy activity. I think that's a good use of their time.
Okay, I think we got that straight. All right, listen, we've got a bill before us that's been amended, and we will, do we want to do a straight amendment, or would you prefer a substitute? What do you think we ought to?
Mr. Chairman, it'll need to be a substitute because we'll need to change the
So,
definition section.
Senator Openchain will generate a substitute, make sure your office gets it. Okay, is there a motion on the bill? Okay, there's a motion duly seconded to report. Any comments from the public? Morning, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Andrew Goddard, Virginia Centre for Public Safety. We don't wish to do any harm to this bill, but we were going to bring up the point that the antique does cover handguns which have been converted or use ammunition, as long as that ammunition is no longer manufactured. But it's equally capable, people are equally capable of manufacturing the ammunition. It doesn't have to be necessarily available in the stores. So I think the cutting it back to black powder muzzle loading would be good.
I detected when I saw you, you were a little comforted by that amendment.
Yes.
Good morning, sir.
Philip Van Cleve, VCDL. I take the opposite approach. I don't like the amendment. I prefer just leaving with the federal standard.
Delegate Ho, speaking to the motion to report.
I want to ask Philip a question about this. Do you think that this would have any effect, or does current law affect that if you go to gun shows and maybe you're a dealer and you're selling antiques? Does this affect that, or is current law sufficient for them to bring their antique guns?
Well, no, I mean, under Virginia law, they can't possess. So.
How do they sell?
Well, I'm sorry, the felon, the nonviolent felon wouldn't be able to sell.
They wouldn't.
So in Virginia, you can't sell antique guns?
No, you can, but not if, you wouldn't be able to possess it if you were a dealer that was a nonviolent felon, yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so this would
Unless
allow
if you
them
were
to-
an FFL, you couldn't be an FFL because felons can't be FFLs.
So they could deal in these type of firearms at a gun show if they wanted to.
Okay, all right. We have a motion to report the bill as amended, or report the substitute, and duly seconded. The committee will now vote. Okay, Senator Openchain, your substitute report 17-1. Thank you, sir.
All right, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, thank you very much.
Okay, I think we've got any other, Senator Reeves. Senator Reeves, I apologize to you. Okay, Senator Reeves, why don't you explain your bill to us, and we'll have a discussion.
I have two bills. One of them you've seen before last year, and it wound up going into budget language between the houses.
We only have one bill before us, as we do.
I thought I had two, but can you tell me which
All right, let's take up 1157.
Okay, that's the, came as a result of the Commission on Military Installation and Defense Activities, basically BRAC, that Delegate Anderson and I served on for the last two governors. This bill caught a fever last year, a political fever, and we got it put into the budget language, but this year we're just trying to codify that budget language into code. What this does is authorize the Virginia Public Building Authority to finance or assist the financing of activities connected with the military mission improvement and expansion projects, or otherwise known as MMIE projects. That, as a result of projects recommended by the Commission to put Virginia in a good light with regard to BRAC, especially now that BRAC 2018 has been probably coming to us. So it's really designed to improve, expand, develop, or redevelop a federal or state military installation to enhance such installations' military values. There's no physical impact. With 32 military installations across Virginia, you all know what that's all about. So that's what the bill is. It's not the first time the committee's seen the bill, but
We had a similar one, we understand, when the courts, we're handling yours, and occasionally that sort of thing happens. The common denominator is Probst looks at this to make sure it's fine. Right. So we'll get it in the same place where it can be dealt with accordingly. Any questions from the committee on this bill? Seeing none, questions from the public on this bill? Any concerns? Hearing none, we operate by motion.
It's 11:56.
Yes. I think we need to, yes, sir. There's a motion to report and refer the bill to appropriations that are duly seconded. Any further comments from the committee? Hearing none, the committee will vote. Thank you, sir. I think you can make your 9 o'clock in good shape.
Thank you.
No report, 16, and referred.
Hello.
Destroy the roll. Okay, no, I mean, don't destroy the roll. That reports and refers. Now the other one. The other one. What's the other bill?
1360.
1360.
Uh-huh.
Department of Civil Affairs, okay.
So,
Did that one go to court? Was there a companion on that, council here in the House?
you know, I don't know, Mr. Chairman, I don't know if Delegate Anderson carried that one or not.
No, Mr. Chairman, this did not have a companion in the House.
Okay, I'm gonna defer to my two or a couple of attorneys here to take a quick look at this. We had a discussion, Senator Reeves, as to whether or not the Courts Committee should really look at something of this nature, just given the fact that we're talking about serving civil documents without the intervention of an attorney, and when we start getting into attorney work down here, some of our attorneys feel like maybe we shouldn't, but I'm gonna yield the mic to, well,
Mr. Chairman, can I just briefly summarize what the bill is, and maybe
yeah,
that will
sure,
be
fire
some
away,
of the.
fire away.
So, what happens is the Department of Military Affairs receives about $800,000, primarily from tuition assistance, or at least that's what's owed to the Commonwealth. And what this is we have monies that are available, and the Lieutenant Colonel over here can speak to it a little bit further to try to help. But anything, we have guardsmen that go out that don't do the right thing. They fail out of school, or they drop out, and they do all this stuff, and they never repay this money back. And so what the Guard is trying to do is recover some of those costs, but anything, basically, cases over $3,000 go to the Office of the Attorney General. Well, the Office of the Attorney General is probably a little overworked, I guess, and we're not getting those monies back. And so all they're really asking to do is anything that's below, I think it originally was $2,999 or $3,000, allow the Guard themselves to go into small claims court and try to recover back some of those monies so we can get them out to the soldiers that are actually doing the work. So if the Lieutenant Colonel would like to just briefly touch on that, since he's the guy in charge of it, that'd be great.
Yes, sir. Good morning, Lieutenant Colonel Russell Woodley, Virginia National Guard. We actually get about $3 million a year for tuition assistance. We currently have accounts receivable of approximately $800,000. We've been making efforts to try and get
for $800,000.
That's our account receivable. Yes, sir.
Okay.
These are soldiers who leave the Virginia Guard for one reason or another. They get kicked out. They don't get the proper grades in school and they end up owing money to us. So we have a lot of accounts, a lot of them are relatively small. Those that are over 3,000, as Senator Reeves said, we send to the Attorney General's office, but it's still a pretty low dollar amount for them. So they're not that aggressive in getting that money back for us. Lower amounts we send to collection agencies. We use the Debt Set-Off Collection Act. We make all the available attempts to get the money back, but we're just not getting it back.
I have to say, I see a lot of budget amendments come up to the Appropriations Committee for $100,000 here and $200,000 there that we have to say no to. $800,000 is a lot of money.
Well, this is what we're owed, sir. This is what we want to get back.
Right.
Right, yes, sir. So we want to get that back. We have the personnel, we're not.
So if you don't get it back, who suffers?
The Commonwealth of Virginia suffers. Yes, sir.
Okay.
So we just like that ability. We have the personnel. We're not looking for any additional money. We just want the ability to go into court and get that money back. And we think we can do much more.
Delegate Klein, do you have an opinion on this? I mean,
Mr. Chairman, I don't need any harm to the bill. I think it might be good for courts to look at. I'm just looking at the list that we're adding Department of Military Affairs to, and it is a list of private sector entities. This is the first governmental entity being added to this list, and I am real scared of Christmas trees, so I just think we ought to look at it in that light. So that's why I support moving it over to courts.
do you think it belongs in civil court?
I don't know if it belongs in this section of the code, but I think it belongs in civil sub probably.
Delegate Gilbert, do you have an opinion? I agree. Okay, I think what you're hearing from the committee is we probably, just to be safe, are going to recommend that this be referred to the Committee on Courts and Justice. Sounds good, sir. Is there such a motion? So moved. Seconded. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor say aye. Aye. The bill is referred to the Committee on Courts and Justice. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Delegates, or Senator Sanders. Sorry to promote you.
No, that's it. It sounds like more fun over here.
You mean can we or can we do think we get some good work done over here. Senator Sanders.
Listen, you guys gave us Cerevel, so we've got to even the playing field. It takes Sproul, but
That'd be a good trade.
and is there a way we can negotiate Cerevel back to you?
The committee will come to order. The committee will come to order so we don't jeopardize the bill.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. It's always nice to see you, sir.
Better to be seen than viewed.
Exactly. And Senate Bill 989 is basically cleaning up the language in a bill last year that was passed and entered into law, creating the Commonwealth 20 Marksmanship Award, which will recognize the top 20 marksmen in the Commonwealth of Virginia. At that time, the bill read that the competitors in each of the rifle and pistol and excellent competitions at the annual state championships conducted by the Sports Association. That verbiage was a bit of a problem, so we cleaned it up, and then we had to clean it up again, and then now it's clean, from what I understand. So it'll be basically saying it's for the top 20 marksmen from Virginia State residents who compete at the state championship.
Okay.
It's really tough.
I think we got a pretty simple bill here. Any questions from the committee?
Mr. Chairman,
I recognize you with trepidation.
I think the senator just likes issuing a press release every year about this bill. So he just gets it a little wrong every year, so he can come back and say, we have passed the.
It's the gift that keeps on giving. Other germane comments from the
Chairman.
Hearing no other germane comments from the committee. There's a motion to report, duly seconded. Any comments from the public? Hearing none, the committee will. Okay. Senator Stanley, it appears you hit the mark. 17.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You can leave gracefully.
Gracefully, I'll try that. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to yield to Chairman Klein for his subcommittee. He has two bills. Let's give our attention to Chairman Klein.
Chairman, we had the fastest subcommittee meeting in history where we considered Senate Bill 889, Senator Chafin's bill, which would exempt retired probation and parole officers who have completed 15 years of service from the permit application fees for concealed handguns. This just exempts them from the fees, not from the coursework and getting the permit. So the subcommittee recommended reporting 7-0. I so moved.
There's a motion to report duly seconded. Comments from the committee? Comments from the public? Hearing none, the committee will vote.
Mr. Chairman?
Very quickly. For the roll.
Very quickly.
Very good question. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. How much money are we talking about here?
Mr. Chairman, it was
Delegate Clark.
minimal.
Minimal's the answer. Any further comments?
Minimal's the answer?
Yes.
Or you can any other comments from the committee? Hearing none. Is there a motion to report? Yeah, there is a motion to report, duly seconded, committee will vote. Okay. As all committee voted, clerk will close the roll. Bill report 16-1, Delegate Clyde.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The other bill was Senate Bill 896, Senator Ruff's bill, which would have required the volunteer firefighter and rescue squad worker service award fund board to meet annually instead of quarterly. And as the designee to that illustrious board, I wholeheartedly support the bill and move that it be reported.
Motion to report the bill is seconded. Duly seconded. Comments from the committee? Comments from the public? Hearing none, the committee will vote. Okay, the bill reports 18-0. Okay, let me give you an announcement here. The only bills we have remaining for next week, I think, are 4. Now that Senator Oakenshane's bill is going back to sub 1 as a bill similar to that bill was dealt with in sub 1, that's why it went back there. Sub 1 will meet next week, and they will go through this, and then we will have, we may have a meeting on Friday, depending on what comes out of sub 1, we may not. So the warning order is be prepared on Friday, and if we do, we'll try to go in again early, because my suspicion is we will try to get home to see our families on Friday. So, okay. Any other comments from the committee? Is there a motion to adjourn?